Hello, I'm Ollie Rodden, and welcome to Jackass Movie Ranking by Greenlight Studio. Today, I'm going to be ranking all 10 Jackass movies, including Bad Grandpa and all the point fives. For each movie, I'll be explaining why it's in the ranking that it is, as well as I'll give my favorite stunt slash part from every movie. Keep the intro short, that's all I gotta say. Minor spoiler warning for all these movies. I will have to go into a little bit of detail. You should watch these movies if you haven't. And here we go. At number 10, obviously one had to be in last place. This is by no means a bad movie, but Bad Grandpa Point 5. It's just Knoxville, and it's limited by the fact that he can only be Irving, as well as the fact that, there's not that much variation in all the bits. So that's why it ends up here. I think Bad Grandpa is like a really, really underrated movie. And the dynamic between Irving and Billy is really actually really sweet, and I watched Bad Grandpa and really wasn't expecting much and was really surprised by how much I liked it. But Bad Grandpa Point 5 does not have that structure that holds down the original movie, and therefore I just think it falls kind of flat sometimes. I think the best part of the point fives is like the variation in, you didn't see this because it didn't make the movie. But in Bad Grandpa Point 5 is a lot of stunts that you saw, but just either extended or like a different take of it, which is fine. I'm not going to say that that's not fine, but there's a reason that those takes didn't end up in the movie. So not only is it the same stunts a lot of the time, but it's worse takes. The one exception to that is the crazy fish scene, which I put at my favorite stunt from this movie. When Irving hits the penguin and then the dude comes out and starts yelling at him. That scene has been extended from like 15-30 seconds to being like a full 2 minutes long. It is hilarious. The banter between those two is so funny. And that was one of the hardest I've laughed at any of these Jackass movies, but it can't carry it past the number 10 spot, so unfortunately, Bad Grandpa Point 5 is the bottom spot. Coming in at number 9, I have Jackass 2.5. This was the first point 5 movie they made, and you can kind of feel that. The structure is not really there. There's an argument to be made that the point 5s are, almost more watchable than the actual movies. I don't agree with that, but like if someone were to say that they liked a point 5 more than, one of the original movies, I wouldn't call them crazy. But I think that this one just kind of suffers from being the first, being the guinea pig, and therefore, like, a lot of the stunts in it aren't that great. Don't get me wrong, there's some really funny stuff in it. My pick for my favorite stunt in this movie is dizzy boxing with Dave and Aaron. I think that's, like, really funny and a really creative idea. But it's very simple. Like, many of the stunts, especially in 2.5, are very, very simple, and almost feel like they were from the show. So for me, like, I prefer the movies. I prefer kind of like the intricate contraptions that they'll do, or like the bigger budget stuff. And you'll see later on, a lot of my favorite stunts actually aren't that. But as a whole, I would rather see something that's like a little bit more intricate. And since 2.5 doesn't have a lot of that, I did have to put it at the spot. That's not to say that there aren't great moments. There most certainly are. But I think it's the weakest of the point fives in, the Jackass franchise. At number 8, I have Jackass 3.5. I think that they were much better with this one, and I think that there's actually a really wide gap between 2.5 and 3.5. Obviously, it still ended up being the next spot on the list, but I think this movie is a lot better. The format is exactly the same. I feel like there are like maybe a little more interviews that give a little more insight on what you're watching, which I actually like a little better. And I just think overall the average of the stunts are better. Funny enough, my favorite moment from Jackass 3.5 is actually not a stunt at all. It's when Bam and Ryan Dunn are getting interviewed, and Bam's chair just keeps falling apart, and he keeps getting up and sitting in it, and it just falls backwards again. I think that's hilarious, and that's not even the selling, but like that's not even a stunt. That's just an interview gone horribly wrong, I guess. But I think like it also makes me much happier to see the state that they're in 3.5. I think that the first two movies are slightly harder to watch just because of how messed up on drugs all the guys are. So like seeing them on 3.5, the majority of them are, if not like fully sober, are much healthier, have much healthier habits as it would seem. And so it's a much better dynamic. I feel like the guys give more insight, and I think the overall stunts are better in 3.5. Now at number 7, this actually somehow used to be my favorite Jackass movie. I rewatched them. Things change, obviously, but at number 7, I have Bad Grandpa. Now, this is by no means a bad movie, and I think that intro kind of made it seem like it was bad. I think that I was just expecting so little from this movie that when it was good, I was like blown away. But on a second viewing, I realized like, yeah, it's really good, but at the end of the day, it is still just Bad Grandpa bits from the Jackass movies, but spread out over, its own feature-length film time. There's some absolutely great moments in this movie, though. I actually cheated and picked 2. Might get used to that trend. But the opening with the vending machine, if you know, you know, and then the scene where Billy and Irving are at the diner and Irving poops all over the wall. Really, really funny. Those are my 2 picks for my favorite stunts from this movie. I don't know. I love the dynamic, and I think that their on-screen chemistry, Irving and Billy, is just so like funny, and it's just like a really wholesome movie. It shouldn't be when you really think about it. When you think about what the movie is, and then thinking that's wholesome, it's kind of surprising. But like this movie is actually like really fun to watch and is like kind of emotional. Johnny Knoxville's great, like genuinely great at acting in this, and the character of Irving ends up being like a very complex and interesting character, and isn't just this scumbag that we get to know from the Jackass movies and his 10-15 minute long bits. So I think that's really awesome, and I think that they did a great job with it. I heard kind of a lot of negativity about the movie before I ended up watching it, and I disagree. I think that this is a great time, and I think as a first viewing, this is definitely one of the strongest Jackass movies because it's so different. Now at number 6, I did my math wrong. We have Jackass 4.5. Now I think it's a bit of a hot take, but I actually like the new cast, specifically Poopies and Zach. I think they fit right in with the rest of the Jackass crew. That's not to say that, I don't like the other ones, but I think Poopies and Zach are great, and they really get to shine in Jackass 4.5. My favorite bit from 4.5 is Zach Sashimi, which if you know what Zach Sashimi is, that's definitely an interesting one. It's one of the grossest bits that comes to mind right now. I can think of like maybe 1 or 2 more that like are a little bit, feel a little bit more in the stomach, but Zach Sashimi is really gross. But yeah, no, 4.5, again, it's just another rendition of the 0.5, and I feel like they got better at it every time. With the interviews, specifically, I really like the insight that they all give in 4.5. I think, as they matured, I think their insight got a little better. And that's not to say that Jackass is supposed to be mature. It's absolutely not. But it's cool to see that they're able to like talk in hindsight about these things. And, I don't know, it adds a lot of interesting commentary to what we're watching. Seeing like Aaron's cup check with the bowling ball get cut into and put into 4.5 is interesting. I think he has some funny stuff to say in that. I really like Aaron, and I think in Forever, which is much later on the list, is definitely his movie. But yeah, no, I think 4.5 is awesome. I think that it has a few moments where it doesn't fully have me, but again, it's a 0.5. There's a reason that most of this footage is in a 0.5 and not in the main movie. So, yeah, I think that this is the best I think this is the best 0.5. It has the best footage, has the best interviews, and overall is just a really fun watch. Now, at number 5, this could potentially be my hottest take of the video. I'll just put that out there right now. But at number 5, I have the original Jackass, the movie. I love this movie, don't get me wrong, but it being the first one, you can definitely feel that, and I think that, again, like I've said with the 0.5s, they get better as they go. I think for the most part, the movies kind of like improved as they went along, and I think the stunts got more ambitious. I think that the reactions got better. I think the camera got better. Like everything just got better. And I will warn you right now, like my list for the Jackass movies is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's pretty similar to that. So I think it's just a thing is I actually prefer seeing them do stunts as they got older. I think it's more interesting to watch. I think they have funnier reactions, and I don't know. It's just something about the original just doesn't always have me. I think that there's a few stretches where, there's a few bits in a row that aren't that great, in my opinion. My favorite bit from Jackass the movie is golf carts. I love the butt X-ray, don't get me wrong, but golf carts is just one of those bits that, like, just thinking about it stresses me out. Like, some of those slams are just wild, and this is a great movie. Obviously, it created the idea for the rest of the movies. I mean, without this one, we wouldn't have the other 9 that I'm ranking. But just as a whole, I think the other ones are more watchable. So, at number 2, and at number 4, spoiler warning, is number 2. Another potentially hot take, but something that I didn't mention in the last one, and I kind of mentioned before, but I have like a little personal thing where, I love the Jackass crew, and so I've listened to all kinds of interviews, and all of them say that, like, on number 2, they were at their worst behavior. They were all like always drunk, always high. And I'm not at all saying that that's like unwatchable or anything, but I think it's more fun to watch them when they're happier and healthier and not just doing it because they're, messed up on some kind of substance. I think it's more wholesome. And I think that the whole idea of Jackass is that it's supposed to be fun. And I think it's more fun to watch them when they're obviously in a good mood as well. And I think that in 1 and 2 specifically, like, you don't always get that from the stunts. You don't always feel like it's in good fun. And that's the reason that I put it a little lower than the other movies. My favorite bit is Terror Taxi. As I said before, I'm a big Aaron guy. That one it has everything. It's a prank. It's really gross. It has some funny reactions. It has a great idea. And I think it's one of the strongest pranks they've ever done, if not the strongest. All right, at number 3, keep it moving. The newest Jackass movie, Jackass Best and Last, lands at number 3. I can also see this one being a little more controversial, and so I would like to explain why I put it here. For one, this is the only Jackass movie that I've seen in a theater that no doubt boosted it. I'm sure that if I was just watching this at home, it'd probably be lower. As I'm recording this, I literally just got back from my second viewing of Jackass Best and Last. So again, probably a little bit of recency bias. There's, first time I'm seeing some of these bits. I'm sure that boosted the ranking. But my argument is that this is the only movie that feels like this movie. And to describe that, it's like all of them have this kind of structure that they follow. Even the Bad Grandpa, even Bad Grandpa 0.5, even all the 0.5s kind of follow this structure. And this is the only one that's very unique. It has kind of the structure of a 0.5, but it also has like genuine insight, and it's like a really emotional movie. Like, I didn't personally cry, but I just seeing, Knoxville and the guys for the last time, it's really emotional. And I think that, for their last attempt at Jackass, they did a great job. My biggest complaint is the recycled footage, obviously. All the new bits are great. All of the stuff that we've never seen before is great. But, just watching something that I've watched tens of times now, but in a theater and in a new movie, and it's slightly remastered and slightly looks better, some of those bits I could do without. There aren't many of them. I will never complain about watching Jackass, but I will say that their bit selection for the movie I don't think was perfect. I think that there was some stuff that I would rather have seen, and there was some stuff that I would have rather have not seen, and I think that's my biggest takeaway negatively. But I think it's a great movie. It's a great send-off. My favorite parts from this movie are the opening. Hot take, I think this is my favorite Jackass opening. It's like super creative and it's really funny. And then the office party, I don't know what happened, but Jasper is like hilarious in this, and you'll see later on when I get to another Jackass movie that I am quite the fan of Rams in these movies, and this bit is hilarious. Like, oh my gosh, the first time I watched this, I was cracking up, crying, laughing at the office party bit. Yeah, Jackass Best and Last is great, and I mean, you're not going to have many more opportunities to see Jackass in the theater. I actually probably zero other opportunities. So if you're watching this and you haven't seen Jackass Best and Last, go out to your local theater and watch it. It's a great time. Now, at number 2, I have Jackass Forever. Jackass Forever is, in my opinion, has the best average level of stunts. I think that it's the perfect mix of like danger to gross out. I think it has some of the best jokes. I think it, has some of the most creative ideas. I like my Jackass pretty 50-50 on like big slams, maybe like 60-40, and gross out stuff. And I think that this movie has more gross out stuff than any of them, if I had to guess just off the top of my head. And it has some that are both gross out and dangerous. Cup test. This movie is almost hard to watch at times, and again, I'm looking at Mr. Danger Aaron, who absolutely steals the show in Jackass Forever. There are some times that I have to kind of like squeam away even after seeing it so many times. I think this movie's awesome. It's so funny, and for it being filmed in the pandemic, you wouldn't have known. I mean, they do a great job at hiding it. Like, there's a few times where you see people in masks, but like it doesn't hinder the experience at all. And I actually like a lot of the stuff that's just filmed in like backyards, because that has kind of intricate stunts ideas. And I don't know, I think the guys all look really happy to be doing what they're doing. I think it's just a really fun watch. And I don't think I said my favorites yet, but my 2 favorite bits, again, kind of cheating, and I'll just tell you now that the next one I chose 2 for also. But my 2 favorite bits are the magic trick, aka Johnny Knoxville's biggest hit I think I've ever seen, maybe even anyone's biggest hit I've ever seen, and then the marching band, which is another huge slam. I think both of those are very much like danger bits, but I honestly might prefer gross out stuff in Jackass. I don't know. But yeah, Jackass Forever is great. And the new cast, I think, is really good in this. I saw a lot of hate for it, and I get it. It's different to have a newer cast, but I think they do a good job for the most part. Let's get a drum roll. Now, if you can count, you probably know what's at number 1. So this will be a light drum roll. Jackass number 3 is at number 1. That was a really light drum roll. Yeah, I think Jackass 3 has the highest highs of the entire franchise. I think if I were to list out like the top 10 stunts, I think in all of Jackass, I feel like half of them would be from this movie. I think it's kind of the culmination of everything. There's not as much gross out stuff, but it is probably the grossest stuff. Like the sweatsuit cocktail, I am not like a squeamish person at all, and I genuinely feel like I'm gonna vomit every time I watch that. I'm thinking about it right now, and it's still getting to me. As I said I'd talk about my favorite bits, and that one of them would be related to a ram. And actually, I was lying. In this one, I only put down 1. These videos are very lightly scripted. But my number 1 bit from Jackass number 3, and honestly, maybe my number 1 bit of all time, is Ram Jam, with Steve-O and Dunn playing the music for the Rams, and they just keep slamming into their legs. It is so funny. And yeah, I don't know. I just think Jackass 3 is, the guys look the happiest. The stunts are dangerous and gross, and they're very intricate and creative. The 3D effect is actually kind of cool. I've had the lucky opportunity to watch Jackass 3D in 3D. It's actually really cool. I've never watched a 3D movie at home before, so we had like these really weird, they were like pink and green 3D glasses, and that was a really, really interesting watch. I can't say it added much, but just being able to watch it in 3D is really cool. And yeah, T-Ball another great example, the spring break scene, Roller Buffalo, all of these scenes. Oh, and the Invisible Man, another bull scene with Knoxville. I feel like I could go down a list and like all of these bits just hit after one after another. And I personally do think that Jackass 3 is peak Jackass. And I think that's a pretty common take. I feel like it's either 2 or 3. But yeah, I'm going to have to go 3. I don't really have much to add. If you want to comment below your personal rankings, feel free. If you want to insult my Jackass taste, I'll only be a little bit sad. And, just thanks for watching if you made it this far. As you can hopefully tell, I'm a big Jackass fan. I was very much looking forward to Jackass Best and Last, and it very much kind of reignited the spark that was deep within me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed making. And I enjoyed making this video a lot. So damn, I cannot do intros. I need someone else to be telling me what to do. All right, I'm going to sign out before this lasts 5 minutes. Thank you for watching. I'm Ollie. This is Greenlight Studio. And I'll see you next time. Cut the camera.